Hello and welcome to Norwood News. Today is Friday, October 7th, and I'm your host, Brian Boudreau. It's great to have you with us as we end another week here in Norwood. This week on Norwood News, Peswick Park opens, Chief Brooks gives an update on recent police activity, and Ron Marshalsea covers all the action in sports. But first, the Norwood Fire Department awarded 2 local heroes who saved the life of a man while they were working out at CrossFit Prosperity in South Norwood. On June 28th, Chris Dull had a cardiac episode and collapsed while working out. 2 patrons of the gym, Paula Verteber and Scott Leverins, saw an unresponsive Dull and sprung into action and grabbed the emergency defibrillator.
I've never used one before, so to grab it in the moment and in 30 seconds figure out how to put it on his chest and take a look at a few images and have the machine tell me what to do was pretty impressive. Not that I'm saying everyone shouldn't be trained in how to use one, but just amazing tool and resource in that moment, and to be able to figure it out and save a life felt pretty cool. So.
Paula Verteber, a nurse of 22 years, was also a rescuer.
When you're working as a nurse, you're in a controlled environment, so you have the physicians, you have all the medical equipment, the drugs, all that stuff that you need. But when you're coming to the gym to work out, you're not expecting it, and to really be able to see that quick intervention works is mind-blowing to me. Like I said, I've been a nurse for over 20 years, and I've done CPR multiple times. Patients don't usually wake up and want to get up and go, and that's exactly what happened. Is Chris woke up and he was like, what happened? He wanted to get up, he wanted to go work out. I was like, you don't understand, like, we just did CPR on you.
Fire Chief David Hayes explains the life and death importance in the small window of time from when 911 is dialed and paramedics arrive.
It's more important to act regardless of any equipment. If you can act to help somebody who's collapsed, it could be as simple as opening an airway, tilting their head back. You don't have to be afraid to touch somebody. If you think somebody's collapsed and is in danger of death, all you can do is save them. You can't hurt them any more than they've already been hurt. So citizen action is the key. Act. Your first act is notifying calling 911, getting us moving. We can only act after you act.
Chris Dull is extremely grateful to both Paula and Scott for their actions that saved his life.
Like I said, I can't thank them enough. I mean, they saved my life. What else?
I know.
What else can I say?
This is a serious example of how a few minutes can make a difference in a life and death situation. This past weekend, the Norwood 150th Committee celebrated down at the Space Center with the Arts and Cultural Festival. Kate Sibbing-Dunn, who spearheaded the event, was so proud and happy how everything came together.
Okay, we're here at the Space Center for the Norwood Arts and Culture Festival. So we had some Portuguese folk dance from right here in Norwood. We had the Norwood Senior Center tappers, and kids are making family flags. We've got tons of tables where people are hosting tables that show the culture of where they're from.
So we have here some traditional artifacts from Portugal, different things that we've all kind of accumulated. Some are to hang up, like things like this. Obviously a mug. There's some other things that are specific to particular areas or part of our religion. The group itself was started in 84, 85 by some immigrants, one of which was my uncle, one of which is Fernanda's father-in-law, and another gentleman. And we've just been trying to keep the traditions alive for the last, close to 40 years, I think. We have performances typically in the summer because that's when most Portuguese festivals happen. But obviously there's times like today where it's an off-season type of performance.
We have like open house for everyone, and we have a reading for our young little kids. Yeah. And the lady did an amazing job, to holding on to them, and they were all listening and laughing and having fun. Kids get to exposure for every business that are here, especially for us that we are not a non-profit organization, 501c3, and it's great for people to know a mission, to know different business that eventually everyone can use this spot. Rio, he's the mascot of a non-profit. Then he has to be here, and he enjoyed the attention. All the little kids and the grown-up loves him. He's waving to everybody. Then, we have him at the wall, then we must have Rio physically here.
From the time that I've been volunteering in Norwood, I've heard a lot that people would love to see sort of a celebration of culture, a celebration of Norwood's diversity, as well as the arts. And we have had, I think, different efforts to celebrate arts, and these great studios here and the studios at Windsmith. And so the idea was to bring those things together with the celebration of the 150th, talk a little bit about our history and the richness of our history, as well as the richness of the people that live here now.
Last weekend, Hurricane Ian destroyed parts of Florida in what was a devastating natural disaster. Joe Delacarpini, a meteorologist with the National Weather Service, who's also a Norwood resident, provided an outlook on the 2022 hurricane season.
Okay, so to start, we're going to talk about some of the hurricane ingredients. How do hurricanes form? What do they really need? Well, there's really three ingredients that have to come together. First of all, we need warm ocean water, typically 80 degrees Fahrenheit or higher. That's why the peak of our tropical season, which I'll get to in a minute, is really in September, when the water temperatures are at their warmest. We also need some deep tropical moisture. Usually that's in the form of what's called a tropical wave, or kind of a weak area of low pressure that comes off the coast of Africa or can develop over the open ocean. So you definitely need that moisture and that heat in there. But the third ingredient, probably the most important, is what's called wind shear. And when we talk about wind shear, we're talking about a change of wind direction or wind speed with height. Now, why is that important? If you have strong wind shear, meaning the wind changes direction or really increases in speed as you go higher and higher in the atmosphere, it kind of shears the systems apart. The thunderstorms can't become very organized. They can't become very tall. And that's what we really need for a tropical storm and eventually a hurricane to form. So again, the three ingredients: warm water, some deep tropical moisture, and weak wind shear. Those were all very favorable conditions.
To watch the full version of Joe's report, please tune into the NCM Community Channel and visit our video on demand on our website. When we come back, Peswick Park is open to the public, and we get an update from Chief Brooks on police activity.
The 28th Annual Craft Affair will be taking place on October 15th from 9 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. at the Norwood High School. Join quality crafters throughout New England and maybe enter to win a raffle or two. The admission is $4 for ages 13 to adult, $3 for seniors, and children 12 and under are free. All proceeds from the craft affair go to support various student groups, athletic teams, and the post-prom party. Any questions about the event can be sent to norwoodcraftaffair@gmail.com.
Last Thursday was the grand opening ribbon cutting for Peswick Park. The evening started with a speech by Ian Cook thanking Holly Jones, Tony Mizuko, as well as partner agencies from around Massachusetts that helped to get this project where it is today. NCM caught up with conservation agent Holly Jones about the project and what it means that this day finally came.
Thank you, everyone, for being here. I can't say how happy I am to have reached this day. This sort of started as what was kind of a wild idea about 4 or 5 years ago, and there have been, along the way, perhaps once a month or so, there's been a conspicuous opportunity for this project to fail and go nowhere. And yet, thanks to an incredible effort by an amazing collection of people from the private sector, government, neighbors, we've gotten here to a successful project.
I am here at Peswick Park off of Sumner Street in South Norwood, and I am joined by a wide variety of partner agencies from around the state who worked on a project to remove a dam from Trap Hole Brook, which is right behind me. This dam is sort of a historic dam, but was presenting a flood risk and also some ecological harm. Trap Hole Brook is actually the best trout stream in eastern Massachusetts. So the dam was the one impediment between the trout upstream and the trout downstream. So with the dam gone, they'll be able to go back and forth and be a little more resilient to finding places to go well into the future. This project was a lot of work for everyone involved, most of all for the guys who were in the mud here in February, of course. It's been years in the making and the planning, and there were many times when we almost thought that it wasn't going to happen. It's been really a roller coaster of a project, and it's so exciting to see the turtles and the fish come back to this part of the stream that used to be a pond. What I'm looking forward to the most is we're not quite wrapped up. We have a few details still to finish, but one of the things that's in process is putting together some interpretive signage. So there will be signs here by next summer explaining what the project was, as well as the history of the site itself. I think that'll be a really great opportunity for families and hopefully even for classes to come and check out the site. Once you see one, you start seeing other places where we could do restoration projects like this and make our environment more resilient to climate change, both for humans and the wildlife that we live with.
1, 2, 3. Awesome work.
It was a busy time for the police department last weekend. Chief Brooks recaps a rollover that occurred on Route 1 North next to Savers last Saturday.
Hi, I'm Chief Bill Brooks of the Norwood Police Department. Here to talk to you about a couple of events that occurred last Saturday. Saturday was kind of a busy day for us. First, a little after 1, we had a rollover crash. It appears that the vehicle was coming down the ramp, coming off Pendergast Circle onto Route 1 North. And as it did, obviously going too fast, it began to swerve and lost contact with the pavement, or started to skid on the pavement. And first apparently swerved a little bit to the left and then swerved to the right, and when it swerved to the right, its tires hit the grass that's along the edge of Route 1. There's a bit of a curve there. And the car flipped right over, landed on its roof, and landed in the parking lot of the Savers parking lot. There were actually some people who were in a parked car nearby. Several of the parked cars got hit, and fortunately no one was seriously injured. He was cited for several motor vehicle violations, including negligent operation of a motor vehicle.
Later that same day, a stabbing occurred at the VFW Hall on Dean Street.
Saturday night we had an event on Dean Street at the VFW. In that case, we had a double stabbing with 2 people injured. We got a call down there, actually initially from neighbors, about a disturbance in the parking lot. When officers arrived, they found a vehicle leaving the scene and pulled it over. And they found that the driver of that car had his hands cut up and had his fingers wrapped in napkins to try to stop the blood flow. They questioned him, and during the questioning, they found a knife with blood on it. Around the same time, we got a call that a second victim was at Norwood Hospital. They had apparently found their way to where Norwood Hospital used to be and called us from there. We sent a radio car, and Norwood Fire sent an ambulance right up, put him in the ambulance with an officer, and that ambulance went to a Boston hospital so that he could be treated. As it turns out, his wounds were not life-threatening, and he has recovered. We're investigating that. Detective Paul Ryan is the primary on that case, and we'll look forward to learning more about what actually happened at the VFW. Apparently those 2 people knew each other, but we'll investigate and get to the bottom of it.
Thanks to both Chief Brooks and Deputy Chief Padden for providing updates to NCM on the latest information. And just a reminder that the Public Safety Building will be holding its open house this Saturday, October 8th from 10 to 2. Now we'll toss it over to Zaina Najjar with school news.
Hi guys, I'm Zaina Najjar, and let's take a look at some activities happening in our Norwood schools this week. The new lights at Norwood High have helped build school spirit for all the students at NHS. Recently, the students held red, white, and blue theme night at one game and then had a neon theme night at the other. The Friday night games are a big hit and they help build school pride. All the teams in the marching band will have an opportunity to practice and play under the lights, and they invite you to come and show your support. The Balch School held their open house and parents had the opportunity to walk the halls and meet the teachers. There were new bulletin boards created for the open house and everyone enjoyed ice cream in the cafeteria. The Callahan School also held their open house back to school night, and new principal Scarlett Grant would like to thank everyone for making the night so special, and it was great to see the Callahan community come together in person. The students created a welcome sign and a new mural was also created in the front lobby. There was also a book fair held that night, and special thanks to the PTA for organizing the book fair and inviting Addie's Groceries to provide snacks and ice cream. Cleveland school students are excited about the 3 new playground games added by former Cleveland student and current Norwood High sophomore Tim Gorin. The games are part of Tim's Eagle Scout project, and he had some of his friends help him with the project. It's great to give back. Nice job, Tim. The Prescott School held a marshmallow challenge and had 18 minutes to create the tallest freestanding structure using marshmallows, tape, spaghetti, noodles, and string. This is a great way for the students to learn teamwork, communication, and planning skills. We're not sure what happened to the marshmallows after the project. Little Mustang showed up to the Willet with their bikes, big wheels, and scooters for the annual Bike-a-thon event. As one of the PTO signature fundraisers, the Bike-a-thon has been a fun experience for pre-K and kindergarten students and families for close to 20 years. Before the Bike-a-thon, students collected pledges from family, friends, and community members. During the Bike-a-thon, students rode their own bikes, scooters, and tricycles for 15 minutes around a circular course at the Willett School created by PTO families. While waiting for their turn to ride, students created bike decorations in the Norwood colors of blue and gold. The Bike-a-thon was a great opportunity for the pre-K and kindergarten students to have some fun, get some exercise, and support the schools. All funds raised will support PTO enrichment activities at the Willett and Little Mustang Preschool Academy. Last week at the Coakley Middle School, students headed outside and participated in a torch walk. Here's teachers Allison Dolliner and Paul Nimblett.
I think what I hope that they take away is that, it starts with them. The littlest act can really make a difference in someone's life, and it really, that line that it starts with the next generation, I hope they really do take advantage of the fact that they are that next generation, that hopefully this sets the groundwork for a basis of inclusiveness and positivity, and doing for others who maybe, could use a little extra boost, a little bit more happiness. I hope that they understand that it starts with them and that they have so much power to make a change.
Well, so one of the things, being able to be a coach at the high school, I know they've started their unified basketball program, and I'm hoping that the students down here, will be able to take that and bring it to the high school, but also we have students getting involved to help out with the Unified Champions. And it's real exciting. They even come up to us and ask us if they can be a part of that. And that's one thing that little things can go a long way. And we already heard that students that were here last year have joined the Unified Basketball program at the high school. So just having bridging that gap between the middle school and the high school, I think today was a start of that, especially for the 6th graders, coming in, and they'll be 7th and 8th graders eventually, being that support system for those kids as they come up.
It's great to see the school community come together. And finally, let's end on a fun, spontaneous classroom moment at CMS. 7th grade students in Christina Serrata's class spontaneously decided to break out and sing a Backstreet Boys song.
Tell me why it ain't nothing but a heartache. Tell me why it ain't nothing but a mistake. Tell me why I never wanna hear you say I want it that way.
Every day is different in the classroom, and you never know what to expect. Well, that's it for school news. The students are always learning, and thanks to all the educators who share the school news with us. Now let's send it over to Ron Marshallsea with your sports update.
I'm Ron Marshallsea, and this is your sports update. The golf team beat Norton at home, but lost 2 in a row on the road to Westwood and Medfield. They are currently 8-7 on the year and need one more win to qualify for the state tournament, and their last 3 matches are all at home. Field hockey had a 2-1 win against Medway and a tough 1-0 home loss against Dedham. In the Medway win, the goals were scored by junior Lindsey Rogers and sophomore Morgan Nauman, with assists by senior Caroline Forrest and sophomore Bridget Sopel. Volleyball has won 3 in a row with 2 big 3-1 wins over both Dedham and Bellingham. And before the Bellingham game, both teams recognized the officials for Ref Appreciation Week. The volleyball team hopes to keep the streak alive when they face Norton at home and then travel to Ashland for their next 2 games. Football had their first win under the lights this season against Medfield, and it was a big one, 28-0. The defense stepped up and didn't allow a single point, and touchdowns were ran in by senior Manny Luongo and senior captain Joey McHugh. Senior quarterback Sean Steves threw 2 touchdown passes, both to fellow senior captain Casey Sheehan. NCM caught up with head coach Manny Lopes after the game to ask about how the first win felt under the lights.
It feels awesome. I mean, it was, those losses hang on for a while. I had a conversation with Nahum. We work so hard that when you lose a game, it sits for 5 or 6 days. And to get this one, it's, now we have a week that we can kind of get at it and get to work, but it's not going to hurt all week. So it feels good.
The Unified basketball team came up with a huge home win against Norton. Coached by Kristen McDonald, the Mustangs were on fire from the outside, connecting on most of their shots from beyond the arc. A special shout out to Connor Holmes and Desiree Morton for their great all-around play. Girls soccer fell to both Dover Sherborne and Dedham, and their next games will be home against Bellingham and away at Norton. Boys soccer had tough losses to Dover Sherborne, Medfield, and Dedham, but Seledson Diaz Segundo delivered a hat trick for the Mustangs against Medfield. This past Wednesday, the boys soccer team hosted the 4th annual Morales Cup versus Dedham in memory of NHS student and soccer player Fernando Morales. And although the Mustangs didn't win, it's always a great reminder for me, the players, the coaches, and anyone who watched to live how Fernando lived each and every day, with no complaints. The boys' next games will be away at Bellingham and home against Norton. And that will do it for this sports update. I'm Ron Marshalsea. And Norwood News will be right back after this break. Norwood News is your home for all things Norwood. Hosted by Kristen McDonald, this weekly news show brings Norwood to you no matter where you are. From town events to sports games and government meetings, Norwood News is there to get the scoop and bring it to you every single week. Norwood News, your home for all things Norwood.
This past Monday, the Planning Board met with a hot topic on the agenda, and the board got right to work. The state of Massachusetts allocates Chapter 90 money that will go towards the paving repairs of streets in town. The Chapter 90 money is based on the number of miles of street a town has. According to town planner Paul Halkiotis, Norwood has not accepted any new streets in the past 8 years. The Planning Board accepted the exact same 6 streets that the Board of Selectmen voted to accept last week. The streets accepted are Ivy Circle. The streets accepted are Ivy Circle, Katie's Way, Kings Road, Lancelot Court, Power Lane, and Silver Street. For complete government coverage, tune into the NCM Government Channel or watch on demand at norwoodcommunitymedia.org. The Norwood Library is in full swing with all their fall activities kicking off. Clayton Cheever has this month's Moral Moment.
Greetings from the Morrill Memorial Library, Norwood's public library for everyone. I'm Clayton Cheever. I use he, his pronouns, and I'm your library director. I'd like to tell you about a few things happening here at the library this October. We're open on Saturdays again. Since the weekend of Norwood Day, and on Sunday, October 16th, we'll be open once again on Sunday afternoons from 2 to 5. That's the weekend after the Monday will be closed this month for the holiday known as Columbus Day and Indigenous Peoples Day, October 10th, which also happens to be the date of Canadian Thanksgiving this year. Remember, at times when the physical library is closed, you can always access our resources online at our website, norwoodlibrary.org. We have got some fun programs scheduled this month. On Friday, October 14th, we have a great family nature walk and art project scheduled. From 10 to 11, we'll join a Massachusetts Audubon guide for a nature hike at Endian Park. Then, at noon, we'll reconvene at the library for a guided art program inspired by the nature and wildlife of Norwood with the same Audubon educator. Please register and then plan to meet us at the Haas Pool parking lot for the hike. You'll also need your own way to get from the park over to the library. Personally, I recommend riding bicycles, but you may choose to walk or drive, and I think it's about an hour's walk, so plan accordingly. I am sure our genealogy series is going to be popular with Norwood adults. It's a mix of in-person and online programs that started in the last week of September and is continuing on Monday evening, October 3rd, with African American genealogy at 7 here at the library. Hidden Treasures in Your Town Records, that's happening online on Wednesday afternoon, October 5th at 2. We'll help you research Polish family roots on Tuesday afternoon, October 11th at 2 here in the library. And we'll dive into Italian genealogical research on Monday evening, October 24th at 7 o'clock online. Registration's open for each program in this series right now, so reserve your spot through our website or by calling or visiting us here at the library. As you think about digging into your family history, you may wonder where you can get some details that people don't readily remember, or that you have no one even to ask. We have some powerful online resources I encourage you to explore. One of these is called American Ancestors, and it can be found on our website, norwoodlibrary.org, under the Digital Resources menu. Simply select Databases and then scroll down the alphabetical list until you find it. It's fairly close to the top. This is a collection of dozens of genealogical databases from the New England Historic Genealogical Society, including full text of the New England Historical and Genealogical Record, the Search for Missing Friends, and Massachusetts Vital Records from 1841 through 1910. Now, I've brought some books with me today I'm excited to tell you about. Casey Lyle wrote and Vera Brosgol illustrated the delightfully fun picture book, A Spoonful of Frogs. Read it to learn all about a new soup recipe that includes everyone's favorite ingredient, a heaping spoonful of frogs. I've also brought two books for older readers. Mariko Koke wrote a novel in Japanese called The Graveyard Apartment that was translated into English by Deborah Bolivar-Bohm. This story, by one of the most popular writers working in Japan today, is about a young family who move into an apartment building next to a graveyard and the horrors that befall them. Originally published in 1986, this is a classic tale of suspense, perfect for these times when the nights keep getting longer and longer. You just may want to get your basement chores done before cracking the cover, as I doubt you'll be eager to go down there after finishing it. This other book will also grab you, but it's a work of nonfiction. Gina Frenfello wrote Blow Your House Down, a story of family, feminism, and treason. Running away from a childhood marked by poverty and violence, Gina's life as a devoted mother and long-married wife was upended when her closest friend died, and she dove into a recklessly passionate affair. This is a testimony to how our culture cages women in traditional narratives of self-sacrifice and erasure. It's about suppressed rage, violence, awareness, transgressions, and how being good to yourself is not always the same as being good. Now, I could talk about books all day long, but let me take a moment to remind you we have a lot more than books at the library. One of Norwood's hidden treasures is our Library of Things. A game many of us have fond memories of playing with, especially this time of the year, is the classic Ouija board. Did you know you can borrow one here at the library? We have this and so much more. I encourage you to check out our Library of Things online to get inspired for all the ways you can benefit from our shared treasures. This has been a Moral Moment. From everyone here at the library, I wish you and yours a safe and happy October.
The Norwood Scholarship Foundation is sponsoring a Patriots Game Day fundraiser on October 16th at the OCC. This is to benefit their Dollars for Scholars Foundation that awards scholarships every year to Norwood residents. Tickets are $30 per person, and that includes raffle, squares, and food. Please contact George Yusevich or Tim McDonough to purchase tickets. Well, that's all for Norwood News. To stay up to date with Norwood Community Media, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. As always, thank you so much for watching. Have a great weekend.